And welcome to the Blathering Boomer Tuesday Night Blathercast. Especially a special warm welcome to the one person who's watching right now. I know a bunch of you watch later. It's okay. But so greetings to all of you who watch this, whether you're watching it live or watching it later. I am going to start with a blast from the past. Back in May of 2023, I did a podcast armed with only a cell phone and a pause button. And I had something to say about something that had been bugging me for a couple of decades. And I'm going to start with that, and then we'll get into a whole lot of other stuff because a lot going on in the world right now, a whole lot going on. But let me bring myself up here from a couple of years ago and start with this. And this is something that's really had me upset for like over 23 years because I sat in my living room and watched a world of idiots celebrate the end of the millennium a year before it happened. All those fireworks I was seeing from all over the world as every time zone became midnight. Wasted. Shut off a year prematurely. The millennium did not end on December 31st, 1999. The millennium ended on December 31st, 2000. And sadly, there probably weren't any fireworks left to celebrate that very, very significant date on the date that it actually happened. Hope you're enjoying the tour of my house, by the way. Actually, I'm going to stop that there. I'll put a link in the description to the rest of that video, but I do prove in no uncertain terms that the millennium ended on December 31st, 2000, not December 31st, 1999. And hello there, Kamashori Kate. And I actually, since you're the only one watching right now, it's just you and me. I have some Stanley Park information that I've done a not deep dive, but a bit of a dive. I'm going to get to that later in the thing, and I hope that the clip I have and the article I have are representative of what's really happening there. But to keep things logically sequenced for now, and I will get to the Stanley Park stuff. What I was talking about in that video was on the topic of premature celebrations, and again. I watched a world of fools celebrate an event a year before it actually happened. It drove me nuts, and I'm glad I got to make that video 2 years ago in May in my fledgling podcast, which actually got 130 views, which is more than my live streams usually get. What are you going to do? But the world's celebrating right now. I came home yesterday from work to see just worldwide celebrations. Nobel Peace Prize is being talked about. Hey, you know what? I hope they're right. I really, really hope they're right. I all I've ever said is all I want, to see happen in the Middle East is as few innocent people dying as possible. And if what happened yesterday, and of course, it's excellent that the 20 living hostages were reunited with their families. I am not diminishing that one little bit, but never forget and never again. And 28 people, those whose bodies they're actually accounting for, are coming back in body bags. And it's this thing, the issues aren't over. I'd love to be wrong. I really would. But let me go to my some of my Twitter bookmarks, and this is kind of amazing, actually. I am going to quote one of the biggest assholes I've ever seen online, Mr. Dave Smith. So Dave Smith does something amazing in this tweet. He says something completely idiotic, and then in the last sentence, he says something that I absolutely can't help agreeing with. So if it's too small to see, I'll read it. Dave Smith, first sentence is, "It's great that the ceasefire has held for a few days and hostage swaps are taking place." First of all, file that under are you fucking kidding me? Hostage swap? Seriously, Dave? Are you conflating? Are you giving moral equivalency to the capturing of people, innocent people at a music festival or kidnapped from their homes versus people who are put in prison for committing crimes? Sorry, there is no equivalency. This is not a hostage swap, and it's part of why I'm not really thrilled about this deal. I really am not in love with the price that was paid for this to get the hostages home. And I say that with all due respect to the hostage families and the hostages. Again, I'm truly, truly, truly happy that their ordeal is over. It was unthinkable. I spent a year in prison, and what I went through, I mean, the arrest really sucked, but the actual imprisonment, I wasn't in a tunnel. I wasn't starved. I had a guitar to play. I had books to read. These people were in darkness, starving in some cases for 2 years. It's unthinkable. And releasing them just doesn't suddenly make it all okay. I'm sorry. It's not all okay. So anyway, so Dave Smith then goes on to continue his dipshitting. He says, "This has got to be the most pathetic attempted gotcha I see from a bunch of the Israel First crowd." So I don't even know what he's talking about there. This is not some attempt to. No, I can't even address it because I can't even articulate it. But then in the last sentence, he says, "This demand to celebrate before we even know if this nightmare is over is wild." And Davey boy, I couldn't agree more. I gotta say, I'm agreeing with Dave Smith about something, and that scares the shit out of me. But again, I kind of make light of the whole millennial thing, although I contend, that I'm a big fan of mathematics and logic, and I contend that I'm completely correct about that. But this thing in Israel, oh God, so much has been said, so much there is to say. I want to do it justice. I mean, last week, Tuesday night, fell on October 7th. I felt I had to talk about, what I went through that night, in my little corner of the world, and how it all unfolded to me. And now here I am on the day after seeing people going apeshit celebrating. And again, I hope they're right. I sincerely hope they're right. I don't want to be right about this, but I do not trust this peace deal. I'm sorry. This conflict is too deep-seated. There was too much rage. There were too many hardened hearts. I don't see it going the way everybody's hoping it'll go. Hope everybody's thinking it'll go. I'm hoping it'll go the way they are thinking it will go. And honestly, there's not too much more I should really say about that. Hey, again, since I only have one person watching, OG Blatherverse citizen Kameshwari Kate, you made a comment at the end of the podcast last week about going to a Stanley Park board meeting. So I'm like, what is Stanley Park? Well, now I know what Stanley Park is. So for those watching later, for those watching the edited version of this, in Brooklyn terms, in New York City terms, Stanley Park is Central Park, or in LA terms, Stanley Park is Griffith Park. And let's see what Kate says. Michael Blathering, I'll have to return later and comment on your Stanley Park coverage. I have to go out with my husband. You're in Portland. Well, oh, wow. Be careful out there in Portland. So since I'm already talking about it, I'm going to go ahead and play the clip that I have, and then I'm going to share the article that I have. And I'm sure if you watch it later, then Kameshwari Kate, you'll have plenty to say about it. But for now, let's share this video. This is from a year ago.
Stanley Park, a beloved gem of West Coast rainforest in the heart of Vancouver, is at the center of a contentious debate. The city of Vancouver is proposing a plan to remove dead trees from Stanley Park, citing concerns about wildfires and public safety.
These trees are going to come down regardless, whether it's through storm or just through natural processes.
We could lose our whole park to a fire. So cut the trees down that are dying to save the rest of the trees.
The Vancouver Park Board says drought and infestations by the western hemlock looper moth have devastated a significant portion of the park's tree cover.
The park board says the plan to remove about 160,000 of these dead trees aims to enhance the forest's health, prevent injuries, and mitigate the risk of wildfires.
Everybody's heartbroken that we have to do this work in Stanley Park, but it is necessary.
But not everyone is convinced. Critics say they're skeptical about the extent of the tree removal.
I became quite alarmed at the dramatic change that would cause to Stanley Park and to my experience and to other people's experience.
Michael Robert Cadett started a petition to halt the tree cutting. It's received more than 16,000 signatures. He says based on his own research and discussions with experts, he doesn't believe there's an imminent fire danger.
Their case was very weak that if there were a danger, the proper solution would be to cut down a third of the forest.
Got a couple of opposing views. I'm going to read at least part of it out loud. 4 citizens with Stave Stanley Park are hoping a judge will halt the Vancouver Board of Parks and Recreation from cutting down any more trees in Stanley Park. In a negligence lawsuit filed July 11th in British Columbia Supreme Court, software developer Michael Robert Cadett, so they pronounce it Cadett. I'm not sure if that's the right way to say it. And homemaker Catherine Cadett, anyway, holistic health educator and coach Anita Hansen and school teacher Jillian McGuire named City of Vancouver, the Park Board Urban Forestry Manager Joe McLeod, and contractor B.A. Blackwell and associates as defendants. Between October and March, crews logged more than 7,200 trees in Stanley Park, a fraction of the 160,000 that the park board said would be removed due to the hemlock looper moth infestation and wildlife fears. The park board is spending almost $7,000 on the operation. So I'm going to pause there and go and bring myself back. Okay, so let me see. Yeah, that's your husband. You're a plaintiff and correct spelling. And yeah, wow. Okay. Well, good for you guys. You know, you commented, Kate, a few weeks ago. I guess Standing Rock came up, and you were talking about how there's logging at Stanley Park, and it kind of went over my shoulder a bit. I didn't pay too much attention to it at the time, to be honest. Then last week you had to leave the Blathercast, leave the live stream to go to a Save Stanley Park meeting. And I'm like, okay, somebody really cares about this. I have never heard of Stanley Park. Let's see what I could find. And I was very, very surprised. And when I saw the name Catherine, I said, okay, this sounds like our Kameshwari, Kate. So congratulations on your activism. I wish you success. I am a big, big fan of trees. I am certain, and yeah. I mean, logging is probably a bit of a necessary evil to a certain degree, but it's got to be done correctly. And destroying a park, yeah. And again, I'm still ignorant on a lot of this. They're trying to make it sound like their motivation is to save the rest of the park by getting rid of the dead wood, so to speak. But something tells me that there's profit involved for somebody here, that maybe there's a logging industry. So these trees that are dead because of the moths, is there wood being used for something else? I don't know. These are all questions. And again, I've said it before. I'm happy to do a full segment on Stanley Park and the saving thereof. So I'm not sure if you're still here, Kameshwari Kate. I'm glad I pronounced your name correctly, both your first name and your actual last name. And kudos to you and your husband. I wish you nothing but the best in all this. And I am here to spread the word. So feel free to use me as you will. Okay, let's see. I got a whole bunch of things bookmarked, and I have lost track of my running order here. So let's see what I have next. I'm going to go back to my Twitter bookmarks for now, because I think there are things in there that lead to some of the things I've been saying. So we got past the day. So yeah, as far as peace in Gaza goes, is it premature? Because these images suggest that the fighting isn't over. I mean, look at what's happening there. That's Hamas executing citizens executing Gazans. To be honest, I haven't actually seen them pull the trigger. I don't really want to see anybody pulling a trigger. It's a little too much for me. So I guess it's possible that none of these people were actually executed, but they certainly appeared to be on the verge of it. So there's a Dave Smith thing. And so the rhetoric on both sides, we talk about the hateful rhetoric coming from the left, and it kills me. It truly kills me to say the left in a pejorative manner after identifying as a leftist for decades. And again, I haven't changed my principles, but what the left has become, and again, the rhetoric, the hateful rhetoric, I dare say, had a lot to do with motivating the shooters in Butler, Pennsylvania, and in Utah, where they murdered Charlie Kirk. But it's wrong in both directions. So you have this stupid thing. Let me give it context. This alien hybrid, whoever that is, I don't know, is it somebody I follow? I hope not. No, I don't. Oh, the guy's got like 148 followers. But there it is. He says, sorry, time to Kent State a few. Cut it out. Cut that out. Kent State was a tragedy. You probably like 20 years before living in your mother's basement before Kent State happened. But God, I was 15 years old. Four people died demonstrating against the Vietnam War. No, we're not going to Kent State anybody, Alan Hybrid, whoever you are. So there was that. And so this Kate here from K-Fry 5 fan. How many followers? Again, a very, very small account, but points out if Jesus was running against Hitler and Hitler had a D after his name, Democrats would vote for him. The only thing I'll add to that is him or her, because let's talk about what passes for Democrat candidates these days. I'll share my screen. Kate says she'll leave comments at replay, and you're very welcome, Blathering Kate. It's your honorary title. So here's the front runner for California governor, a Democrat. And let's just play that.
Voters in California, the nation's most populous state, will elect a new governor next year after Governor Gavin Newsom's second term runs out.
The race is getting a lot of attention this week after a CBS News interview with the early frontrunner was posted online.
Former Democratic Congresswoman Katie Porter nearly walked out when correspondent Julie Watts asked about redistricting and what Porter would say to the 40% of Californians who voted for President Trump.
We've also asked the other candidates, do you think you need any of those 40% of California voters to win? And you're saying, no, you don't.
No, I'm saying I'm going to try to win every vote I can. And what I'm saying to you is that.
Well, to those voters. Okay, so you.
I don't want to keep doing this. I'm going to call it. Okay. Thank you.
You're not going to do the interview with us?
Nope, not like this. I'm not. Not with 7 follow-ups to every single question you ask.
Every other candidate has answered.
I don't care.
Follow-ups.
I don't care. I want to have a pleasant, positive conversation in which you ask me about every issue on this list. And if every question you're going to make up a follow-up question, then we're never going to get there.
Ms.
And
Porter,
we're just going to circle around.
I am an investigative
I have never had to do
reporter.
this before, ever.
You've never had to have a conversation with
to end
a
an
reporter?
interview.
Okay, but every other candidate has done this.
What part of I'm me? I'm running for governor because I'm a leader. So I am going to make.
So you're not going to answer questions from reporters? Okay, why don't we go through? I will continue to ask follow-up questions because that's my job as a journalist, but I will go through and ask these. And if you don't want to answer, you don't want to answer. So nearly every legislative.
I don't want to have an unhappy experience with you. And I don't want this all on camera.
Now, it's important to know that this viral moment is an excerpt from a much longer piece where
I keep forgetting to close the window before I close it on here. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. That's what any blue will do gets you. I'm sick of it. I really am sick of it. Having a D next to your name doesn't make you invulnerable to actual criticism. And by the way, that interview, that was not Fox. That was not News Nation. That was not OAN. That was not Ben Shapiro. That was not Dave Rubin. That was CBS. That was mainstream media. Mainstream media interviewing the leading candidate for governor who refused to answer questions. I don't know whether to hope she stays in the race or not, because if she stays in the race, we can welcome Governor Steve Hilton, because he'll wipe the floor with her as a Republican in California. She can't recover from this. She's not the only Democrat running for governor in a state, though, that has absolutely no, I'm not even sure what the quality I'm looking for is, but Katie doesn't have it. And this Abigail person sure doesn't have it. And, oh yeah, it's back in my Twitter. So let's play this. Oops, that ain't it. I think that might be it.
I'm a Republican and I'm required to forgive people. And it's hard sometimes because not to forgive is almost like, as someone said, you drink poison thinking that it's going to affect the other person. And I want to live a decent life, and I don't want to not have peace in my life. And so as I've said before, I would not say that. So that's why I'm wondering why my opponent won't say, beyond its abhorrent and disgusting, why she won't say it is not okay and that he must leave the race, because Jay Jones advocated the murder, Abigail, the murder of a man, a former speaker, as well as his children who were 2 and 5 years old. You have little girls. What would it take him pulling the trigger? Is that what would do it? And then you would say he needs to get out of the race? Abigail, you have nothing to say? Abigail, what if...
Abigail, my granddaughter's name is Abigail, so I can't help. Anyway, I'm going to cut that part out. This has nothing to do with my granddaughter. Look at that face. Look at that stone face, not making eye contact, staring straight ahead, and just thinks she has the whole thing sewn up. And Ellen from Brooklyn, if you're watching, doesn't she look like the wife that we don't particularly like of an old friend of ours? I can't help noticing that resemblance. Hey, there's only about 10 more seconds of this.
He said it about your your 3 children. Is that when you would say he should get out of the race, Abigail? You're running to be governor.
So let me stop my screen, get myself back up there. I've been saying for a long time, Democrats need to choose. They need to pick their heroes better, and they need to pick their candidates better. The hubris that they think they could just get away with anything and still be elected. Did you not learn from what happened with Hillary Clinton in 2016? She thought she was above it all. She thought it didn't matter. She thought that she could cheat Bernie Sanders. She thought that she could take bleach bit to a server that was illegally stored in her house. She thought she could take hammers to BlackBerries and destroy evidence, the evidence subpoenaed by Congress, by the way. She thought none of it mattered because she was absolutely going to win the election. And she didn't. She didn't. And then the Democrats, with the same hubris, after throwing all these absurd charges at Donald Trump, removing him from ballots in several states, doing every dirty trick that we haven't even imagined. And then they try to shove Kamala Harris down our throats, thinking that because it's Trump and because Biden beat him. And I use very, very heavy finger quotes for that, but that's a whole separate conversation. Jessica 007, if you're watching, I want to take a deep dive into that 2020 election we've been talking about. Anyway, they don't always win. They don't always win. Tim Walz being the governor of Minnesota, well, that happens. That happens. The woman who replaced Cuomo in New York, is her name Hochul, whatever her name is, it does happen. But they also lose. There's a race in Jersey right now that's uncomfortably close, and they're starting to sling mud at the Republican now because they realize how uncomfortably close it's getting. But you just that person she's talking about, by the way, was making death threats to a former speaker of the Virginia Assembly, and celebrating the possibility that he would be killed in front of his children, maybe saying his children should be. It was a disgusting text message. Now, of course, there is privacy issues, et cetera, but when text messages come out that involve stuff like that, and the person's running for public office, the public has a right to know who they're voting for, who they're opposing. And in a debate, when that comes up, and the Democrat candidate for governor won't even denounce that, won't even look at the person commenting, we have some serious problems. So I struggle mightily with referring to liberals or leftists in a pejorative manner. But Democrats can go fuck themselves. I tried. I really did. And again, I was a passionate Obama supporter at the time. I was a passionate Bernard Sanders supporter at the time, not realizing that the I next to his name was one of the biggest lies. There's some big lies in Washington, D.C., but none bigger than the I in parentheses next to Senator Bernard Sanders' name. That I should be a D. I mean, give me a break. So, okay, so I'm ranting, I'm blathering. Hey, you know what? I haven't always been doing this. The Blathering Boomer back in 1989 was actually very briefly on TV. I would like to share with you, and this is way off all topics, but I want to share with you my 12 seconds of fame. So this is an episode of the TV show Hunter. Let me get myself off the screen. And if you watch, not too closely, it's pretty obvious. That is me wearing the green hat. Here we go. So there I am. There I am in Marina Del Rey in 1989 on the set of Hunter. It was being filmed. I was doing a lot of extra work. I got to know the former head of the Extras Union. I met him in rehab, actually, and he got me to go down to disc casting. And I did 6 or 7 episodes of an old TV Western called Paradise. And I did that one episode of Hunter, and got a pretty good close-up there. And actually, I'm going to probably find a good screenshot of that of that part of the thing and make it my Facebook profile picture. So enough of that. And that's what I look like now. Wow. Well, I had the beard. This thing is getting out of control. I mean, I know Stephanie likes it, and that's great because I want Stephanie to like things, but there's going to be cockroaches in this. I think there might be some raccoons living in here. I don't know if I look like a Lubavitch rabbi or ZZ Top. I don't know how long I can, and plus I can't stop pulling it, and that hurts. You want somebody pulling your beard. Anyway, so that's where that is. What else do I have stored up? Oh yeah. So when I was growing up in Brooklyn, and Jersey JM says, Rabbi Michael, thank you kindly, sir. Yeah. It's out of control though, JM. It really is. It's I don't know what to do with it. But you can't see the stupid neck. The thing of it is, you can't see the neck flap. My mother had this, and I didn't like it on her. I don't like it on me. And so my choices in life are to have a big ass beard that covers it, or a chicken neck, So there you go. Anyway, I grew up in Brooklyn, and I lived in a neighborhood controlled by Joe Colombo, but everyone around me kept saying the mafia doesn't exist. Even the director of the FBI was trying to say there's no such thing as the mafia.
For nearly 50 years, the most powerful men in America were effectively dependent on him for their survival. But Hoover himself was not immune. For decades, he refused to acknowledge the mafia's existence, a criminal empire operating in plain sight. Yeah, he literally said the mafia does not exist with a straight face. So yeah, that guy extorting you or that other guy who robbed you were probably fairies or something. But no, in all seriousness, there's a reason why he denied that organized crime was real.
I don't care about the reason. The fact is that he did it. So that comes up because lately there's been a montage of people saying this.
No Antifa. This is an entirely imaginary organization. There is not an Antifa.
Like, I don't even know what Antifa is. There is no group.
It's not even like far-right groups like the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers. Compared to right-wing extremists, Antifa-linked violence is rare and limited.
It isn't an organization. It is in many ways mythology.
It's not a highly organized movement. It's a moniker. It's not a unified group like the Proud Boys are.
Things like Antifa are things that are thought up.
It's all in this guise of going after Antifa, which is nothing. There's no organization called Antifa.
Nobody's a member of Antifa because it doesn't exist. They are just declaring into existence something that doesn't exist.
There is no Antifa organization. So maybe that's good for social media. But it really is non-existent.
They exist on the internet in chat rooms and in 4chan and Discord and places like that, where they run discussion boards, trade tactics, documents, things like that. But none of them are called Antifa.
Professor Mark Bray, aka Dr. Antifa. How lovely. Bray authored an Antifa book and pledged that a portion of funds received from book sales will go to Antifa coalitions. Fox News talked to a Rutgers student and TPUSA spokesperson earlier this week.
So I guess I learned something. Where am I? There I am. So Antifa doesn't exist. All that violence in Portland, where apparently Commissary Kate is right now with her husband, all that violence in Minnesota, apparently a police station in Minnesota burned itself down. Antifa doesn't exist. And again, when I started hearing that, the first thing I thought of was how my entire childhood, where I was living in a neighborhood controlled by the mafia, where shopkeepers had to give envelopes on a monthly basis to people in suits. Antifa doesn't exist like the mafia didn't exist. And in the words of Forrest Gump, that's all I have to say about that. Anyway, I'm almost done. I got one more thing that I know I'm going to get to here. There's a ballot measure in California, Prop 50. It's actually the only thing on the ballot. I mailed in my mail-in ballot today. It's the only thing on the ballot, Prop 50. So essentially, in plain speak terms, because of course there's all this legal language in the wording of the prop. Apparently in Texas, some gerrymandering happened, and now as a countermeasure, Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, wants to gerrymander California. Apparently, best of my knowledge, that the congressional districts for many, many years have been drawn by a nonpartisan citizens committee, but Prop 50 wants to change that. But here's an ad. I don't know about you, but if I was for Prop 50 before watching this ad, I'm not sure that I would still vote for it. And here we go.
In, and voters have just passed Prop 50.
What?
This is a major blow to Donald Trump and
This
his
is
chances
bad.
of holding on to power next year.
Stop the
That's right,
count.
Liz, because if he loses the House,
Why
Congress
did you
will
do
have
this
the
to
power to
Trump?
block Trump, investigate him for corruption, and even release the Epstein files.
You want to stick it to Trump? Vote yes on Prop 50. I hate California.
I'm sorry. That's a ridiculous ad. Stick it to Trump. How is stick it to Trump a valid reason for voting for a ballot measure? It doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to show what a properly filled out California ballot looks like. And there it is. Can you see it? Yeah. So that's how you fill out your ballot. Because I'm sorry, I'm sick of the hate. I'm sick of hate-driven politics. You know, what happened to positivity? Is there any hope for positivity in politics again? Well, a lot of people think there is right now. A lot of people think that there's positivity afoot right now because of what happened yesterday, because of the release of the hostages, dead and alive. And again, please don't get me wrong. I am rooting for peace. I am rooting for peace with all my heart. From on October 7th, I said, when Pasta asked me what do I want to see happen, and my answer was, I want to see this solved in a way that costs the fewest innocent lives in the long run. And how that manifests, there's a lot of different ways that's possible. I think we only had 3 or 4 people watching that. I think tonight's still Simchas Torah, so I lose a lot of my practicing Jewish audience there, and as a non-practicing Jew, I go on whenever I want. However, I will say this, and I don't have the photo to share right now. The one thing I do every year is I light Yortzeit candles for my parents. I do it out of respect. I do it out of reflection. I light the candles in a room where it's dark and it's the only light in there, and I'll sit in that room and just really think about my mom and my dad and all they did for me and all the opportunities they gave me. And I'm very, very guilty of a lack of credit given to them. I'm not going to say while they were alive, because for the last years of their lives, I finally realized at a certain point that they're getting old and I better be nice, So I stopped arguing even when I disagreed, and I tried to express as much gratitude as I could. And I'm grateful for the opportunity that it came to me that I should do that while they were still alive, and I had the chance to express my gratitude. I'm just going to peek over my own shoulder here. Is there anything in my Twitter bookmarks that I left out? No, I think I got it all. Oh yeah, let's do one last Twitter bookmark, because if you ever saw the movie Dog Day Afternoon, you would know that. Let me see what Jan from Jersey says. It would backfire because most of California voted red. Well, let's see what happens there. It's an uphill struggle, but 40% did vote red, which I think that number is going to be a whole lot bigger, especially if Katie Porter is the candidate. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with Prop 50. I don't think that ad is going to win over intelligent minds. I really, really don't. It's so off-putting and such an insult to my intelligence. So let me, because there's a mayoral race going on in New York that's getting a whole lot of coverage. And if you saw the movie Dog Day Afternoon, you know what it's like for people out in the streets in New York. They don't hold back. Well, this guy didn't either.
Denounce Sharia law. Denounce Hezbollah. Denounce it. You can't denounce it. You can't denounce it. You fucking rat. Back the fuck off. Back the fuck off. Anti-Semite.
Homeboy went up on a guy 5 inches taller than him. You know, again, this guy is, unless a miracle happens, this Mandani character is going to be the next mayor of New York City. I don't get it. I don't get it. New York City has the biggest Jewish population outside the state of Israel. How are they letting this happen? Please don't make me move back there. Actually, the fact of the matter is, if this guy's elected, I'm not going back there during his administration. I would not feel safe in New York City. And it has nothing to do with me being Jewish. The guy wants to open the jails. He wants to defund the police. He's going to turn New York City into a dystopian hellscape. Oh, and that's my homeland. You know, New York. I'm from Brooklyn. I'm from Bensonhurst. They filmed Welcome Back, Kotter in my neighborhood. They filmed Saturday Night Fever in my neighborhood. And this guy wants to be the mayor. Fiorello LaGuardia, Ed Koch. John Lindsay wasn't that great, but there's been some great, again, Koch and LaGuardia come to mind. This guy's going to live in Gracie Mansion, where Fiorello LaGuardia once lived, where Ed Koch once lived. Ed Koch is dead, and I still consider him to be the mayor of New York City. That's what a badass mayor he was. I was driving a cab during the Koch administration, and every day Ed Koch would get on the radio and just talk to us. He was connected. He understood what was happening. He understood what New Yorkers wanted, what we needed. And he was elected for 3 terms. Good for him. But again, as far as I'm concerned, I can't even tell you who was the mayor after Koch. You had that the Balzio, the Ballsy, whatever his name was. You had the Bloomfeld, or I don't know. Oh, you had that Rudy Giuliani. He's pretty divisive. A lot of people kind of hate him. A lot of people love him. I don't know. I wasn't living there. I was there, when I was a kid. Robert Wagner was the mayor. Then it was John Lindsay, and then I think Beam had a little time in there, and then along came Ed Koch. The person I was Bloomberg was good. Okay, I honestly wouldn't know Jam from Jersey. I honestly wouldn't know about Bloomberg or any of those in between. I know the Balzio got a lot of criticism. I think he tried to run for president or something. I don't know, but apparently he did not endear himself to people during the pandemic. So my beloved New York City is about to become dead. Adams dropped out of the race. Good for him. He had no shot. But Cuomo, why would you ever in this? If you care about New York City, you will drop out. And to a lesser extent, the same goes to Curtis Sliwa. I do believe that if Cuomo, and because I think Mandami has a significant plurality, but if I'm not mistaken, Mandami doesn't have a majority. And so if somehow Sliwa and Cuomo, who are not exactly ideologically aligned, could make a deal with each other to have one of them drop out and the other one hold some kind of significant power in New York City, that's the only way this madman Dami is going to be defeated. I think I've run out of all my pre-saved material. I'm going to put links to some of the stuff I shared in the description. I hope I did a good job on the Stanley Park thing. That's a new one. Again, it's an old conflict. It's an environmentalists versus, well, it seems to be environmentalists versus environmentalists. Certainly the people who are looking to cut the trees down are claiming to be on the side of what's good for the park. And the people who are against the logging are definitely saying that they're on, and hey, when in doubt, I'll go with the trees, so it would break my heart. Well, I'd say I'd break my heart to see Central Park go the wayside, but the whole New York City's about to go the wayside. But, I'm a big fan of parks, and Stanley Park looks like a really good one. They also had a recent controversy. Apparently, J.K. Rowling, there was some kind of Harry Potter thing, some kind of Harry Potter train event or Harry Potter World, and there was a big outcry because the trans community is very upset with J.K. Rowling, and that's a whole big issue that actually I want to get into sometime, because there's been some interesting back and forth, especially between J.K. Rowling and I think her name is Emma Stone, the little girl who played Hermione. J.K. Rowling came off pretty savage. So anyway, that's about all I got tonight. I thought I had a whole lot more, but it looks like I'm getting out of here in less than 55 minutes, which is good. It's good for me and it's good for you guys, who I'm probably boring to death by now. Thank you, all 4 of you who've hung in there all this time. I really do appreciate all of you. Thank you for everybody who watches the replay on this. Well, it takes a couple of days for YouTube to process so I can edit. So if you watch this before, I'm saying this at the end, so it doesn't matter. But by Thursday, there should be a nice, clean, edited version of this up. Anyway, thank you once again to everybody who watched. I appreciate all of you. I'm doing this for over 2 years, and I don't care that I have a small podcast. It's all good. Oh, I think I might have mentioned this last week, but the next big project I want to work on is the poll I did on Twitter showed that 25% of the people who supported Bernie Sanders in 2016 voted for Trump in 2024. That's a hell of a journey. It's a journey that I was on myself. I very, very much supported Bernie in 2016, and I very emphatically voted for Trump in 2024. And am I perfectly happy with everything he's done? Again, I think he's getting a little bit ahead of the game with this peace deal. I'd love to be wrong about that. I hope he deserves a Nobel Prize, but only time will tell if he deserves a Nobel Prize. And then if he deserves one, I hope he wins it, because if he really did pull this off, if this is what people seem to think it is, it's a really, really big deal. I'm reserving my enthusiasm, guarded, very, very guarded optimism, very, very guarded optimism on this. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. This is one of those Italian goodbyes. You say goodbye, and then you keep talking for 20 minutes. The boomer has blathered. Peace out. Ha ha. Oops. God actually hit